Got a chance to listen to Matt Stinchcomb, who was on Paul Feinbaum's show last week. This was before the South Carolina game, and I think that what Matt was saying here is just dead on correct. Okay, and he's talking about where Georgia's at right now versus their future, and he's talking about as a program. He says Georgia still has to prove it. You've won one national championship. Georgia shares a conference with the standard-setting program. It's not just winning now. It's winning again later and then doing it again. And he's exactly correct. These moments are great moments, and that you beat Alabama in the way that you did led to some just, awesome celebrations and moments in history. But this is not the only time that Georgia should win a national championship. They should win the national championship multiple times under Kirby Smart. Now, if that doesn't happen, something's gone wrong. I'm just being straight up. You know, this is there's an acknowledge there should be an acknowledgement of what has been accomplished so far, and it's not insignificant. Even without the national championship, it's not insignificant. I mean, you start talking about Georgia, take last year away. Okay, now if you don't win the national championship, you don't you don't you have left the season without a major trophy. But even if you did not win the national championship in 2021, let's just think about it going backwards. You won the Orange Bowl. You had an undefeated regular season in 2021. In 2020, you win the Peach Bowl. In 2019, you win the Sugar Bowl. You win the SEC East as well, just like you do in 2021. In 2018, they lost the Sugar Bowl. They lost the Sugar Bowl. They won the SEC East. In 2017, you win the Rose Bowl. You win the SEC championship game. You win the SEC East. The domination over the Gators over the last half decade has been not insignificant. The total domination of Georgia Tech. Only played 4 times in 5 years, or will play 4 times in 5 years at the end of this year. Total domination. From 17 till today, Georgia's lost 2 games to Auburn, Georgia Tech, and Florida. 2 games, 17 Auburn, 20 Florida. That's it. I mean, you start talking about Georgia's traditional rivalries, those are the three. And and this is not going to be right, but well, actually, it will be right. So when you're uh, 15, so to be 13-2 ish against your major rivals, that's a big deal. So uh, the program's gone a long way, but this should not be the last time we see Kirby Smart on the stage hoisting a national championship trophy. Make sure you're picking up DAWGSTRUCTION. The link is down below. The forward is from Jeff Foxworthy. It celebrates Georgia's national championship run in 2021. Here's Bo Nix down here running for his life from Nolan Smith and Trayvon Walthour, I think. Nolan without gloves on, which is kind of interesting. Georgia has got to capitalize on their position in the world of college football. And what Matt Stinchcom's talking about is doing just that. You've not replaced Alabama. That's not where Georgia is at, and that's not going to happen in some September or October or even November or December. These things happen in Januaries. That's when the event occurs. When you are actually doing it is all the other times in the year. You can't just, develop your way to a national championship. You have to recruit kids. You can't just recruit your way to the national championship. Texas A&M can tell you about that. To some degree, Ohio State can, to some degree. You have to develop too. And right now, there's a sense in the league that Alabama has slipped. And I don't think there's really any, that's not a lie, right? But they're still the second best team in the country. Let's just say at worst they're the third best team in the country. Well, that's really slipping, right? I mean, so there's an opportunity right now for Georgia to come in and execute at a level the likes of which we've seen before. It's just been in Tuscaloosa. I was watching Paul's show on Monday. I think John Talty's really good when he with his inner working knowledge of the Alabama programs, Alabama and Auburn. And both him and Paul were talking about how it looked like Georgia was what looked a lot like Alabama. But to me, and they have to close this out, but to me, they look much more like Nick's teams uh, from the early 2010s than they do the Nick teams in the later 2010s. I mean, that Alabama 2020 defense offense was, I mean, with Mac Jones, that those guys were that's one of the best offenses I've ever seen, and they were amazing. But their defense, I think, was not the same as we've seen at the beginning part of the decade. They allowed 24 to Texas A&M, 48 to Ole Miss, 24 to the Dogs, 46 to the Gators, 24 to Ohio State. Now, some of those numbers are not that bad, but when and college football has changed, okay? College football has changed. But when you look at the 2012 Alabama team, which was probably their best team, probably, I mean, they had 14 points, 14, 10, 13, 17. I mean, Texas A&M scored 29 points and beat them. Georgia scored 28 and did not. So, I mean, the most points they didn't allow 30 points at all the entire year. The season before that, I don't think they allowed, in 11, I don't think they allowed any points either. 7, 11, 14, 10, 7, 6, 9, and they lost. They allowed over 20 points once, and that was Georgia Southern. So the offense that we're watching from Georgia, yeah, it is similar to the 2020 Alabama offense. I think Alabama's offense was better for now. For now, I'm not sure if I'll feel like that forever. We'll see. But, just there's 38, 52, 63, 41, 48, 41, 63, 50, 42, 55, 52, 52, 31, 52. Those were against SEC teams, all of them except Notre Dame and Ohio State. Scored 52 in the national championship game, y'all. Woo! That was amazing. I mean, just the production is amazing. They scored 52 points in 3 of their last 4 games. Georgia could do that. They just haven't yet. And that 20 Alabama team, back to back, that 20, I mean, 3 in a row, actually. When you think about LSU in 19, Bama in 20, and then Georgia in 21. These have been exceptional teams. Exceptional. And Georgia, I don't know if they compare favorably to the 19 LSU team or not. I don't know if they compare favorably to the 20 Alabama team or not. But I know just completely as a team, like the offense and the defense, I think there's some discussion there. But Matt Stinchcom's point is should not be skipped over here. And here's what he said again. Georgia still has to prove it. You won 1 national championship. Georgia shares a conference with the standard-setting program. It's not just winning now. It's winning later and then doing it again. He is saying what I have said. He is saying on Paul's show what I've said to y'all and to the subscribers over at Dog Post and to the readers at Dog Post for years. Georgia shouldn't just win a national championship. It should win multiple national championships. It should do it consistently. Georgia should win the national championship. And I'll say this now, too, because Kirby Smart's not going to be the head coach of Georgia forever. Kirby is not the only person that can win a national championship at Georgia or multiple ones. Georgia is only now realizing how dominant they can be. I think that it took the credit for Kirby winning national championship is like one thing, I think. I mean, that's separate than what I'm about to say, which is what he maybe should be given more credit for is that he allowed the university and the school to dream. He was the right person. He had the authority to say it. When I say it, no one's going to care. No one's going to listen. I'm right, but I don't have the clout. He did, and he does. And, Mike White at basketball, they should be that should be a Sweet 16 team at least 3 out of 5 years at Georgia. It just should. And when you look at, I mean, baseball's underperformed. It's not good enough. And the athletics department at Georgia should be a monster. It should be a bread slicer, just constantly just sawing through things. And it's not been. And Vince had a great run as athletic director, but they were never great at football in the time that they were really great at the other sports. Damon Evans was not a good athletic director. It didn't go well. Greg had to pick up the pieces against that Damon left flying around, and he held on too long to Mark Fox. But I mean, it may be that he held on too long to Mark Richt. I don't know, but he hired Kirby Smart, and even then, I think the powers that be at Georgia have never really understood how powerful Georgia can be, should be. I mean, Ohio State, Georgia, Texas, uh, North Carolina, really UCLA, but they're not. Florida, to some degree, LSU. These are the schools that should be monsters, powers in every sport. In every sport. And that Georgia's not there completely, that's an indictment, a little bit of imagination. But what Matt's saying here is dead on correct about football. Georgia still has to prove it. I agree.